What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Mile ADV, a true beginner's guide to adventure motorcycling from a beginner. Today, I'm going to talk about something a little bit controversial. Why I think you might actually want to buy a full-size adventure bike and skip the middle or lightweight adventure bike. I know, and I have like a middleweight, so am I being a bit hypocritical? I think so. It's okay. So with that, if you haven't, subscribe to the channel. It helps. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. If you like the videos, it just helps me know we're doing a good thing. So with that, let's get into it. Reason number one, and if you haven't seen my very first video I ever put out, because the very first video I bought was a KTM 1290 Super Adventure S. So yes, I have owned a full-size adventure bike, two of them actually. Both of them I have sold. Maybe that's for another video. Maybe I'm calling myself out here. I'm talking trash to myself. But anyways, I owned a 1290 Super Adventure S. Okay, let's take this back. We're actually going to say the number one reason you want to get a full-size adventure bike is the weight of the bike. Now that might sound like completely controversial because nobody talks about like weight advantages. But let me tell you a story. If I was going to take my motorcycle and I was just going to go tour the San Juans and I wasn't going to do any dirt, I am not taking this bike. I'm going to take my Harley Davidson Road Glide CVO, and it is an 800-pound motorcycle. When you get that bike and that heavy bike on the highway, same with my KTM, same with my Ducati that I owned, when you get those bikes on the highway, the weight is your advantage. It is so stable, it is a lot comfortable, it just seems to soak up the road noise. You get better wind protection because the bike is bigger. So like when you're cruising and you hit a rainstorm, a lot of times I don't really worry about getting super wet because the bike is so big, a lot of the wind and water will blow over you. You're getting a little damp, but not as wet as you might think. Trying to pass a semi, when you get the wind, the crazy winds coming off the back coming up to it, you're not getting a bunch of shake and you're not getting blown around all over the place because the bike has some weight and it's stable. And then when you come around a semi and you're getting towards the front, it's actually trying to suck you back in, like the way the wind is pulling you, and you kind of have to break through this front barrier to get in front of the semi. The weight of the bike just creates so much stability. It is easier, it's easy to blast past those semis, get in front of them, get back into some clear wind. Next, you're going to have the power, right? Like if I was on my Honda 450 RL, there's no way I'm going to be able to pass a semi. And if I was behind a semi, I'm going to get blown all over the place. It is going to be brutal. The ride, the chatter, everything about it, like it's loud, it vibrates a lot, it's not very smooth. So I think the weight of the bike, the bigger motor, the smoothness of the motor, I think just all of the technology that goes into it is just going to give you a lot better ride. And so with that, it creates a nice segue into number two. Number two is technology. If you want all the bells and whistles, if you want heated grips, heated seats, Apple CarPlay integration, you don't want to deal with the chain, you want shaft drive, all of that stuff comes on the bigger bikes. Like my 1290 Super Adventure S, it had adaptive cruise control. I think the Ducati also had adaptive cruise control. So if you're going to be out on the highway and you're going to be cruising for a while, that car cuts in front of you, it's going to slow the bike back down automatically. You don't even have to think about it. You don't have to cancel. You're not going to rear end them with your cruise control on. You might still want to hit the brakes from like a safety standpoint because you never want to trust technology 100%, but like all of those nice things are going to come on the bigger bikes. You're not going to get them on the smaller ones. Now, with some bit of a caveat, the reason I bought the Triumph initially is because it seemed to blend all of the good creature comforts with the bigger bikes with a smaller bike. However, the off-road prowess of that Tiger 900, the suspension, it just wasn't my jam. This bike I think so far has been way better, but it seemed to kind of blend that big bike comfort and technology features with middle bike weight. So I think if you're looking to have you want Apple CarPlay integration, I think even the Honda Africa Twin, which sits kind of in between like a 900 and like a full-size 1200 plus ADV bike. KTMs are now coming out 1300s. Like that stuff's going to come out. My Harley has Apple CarPlay integration. This doesn't. Even this bike, like the screen is super small and the text is really small. You get the bigger displays. So if you're into the technology and all the bells and whistles, go with the bigger bikes. Also, a lot of them are going to come with luggage. You can get luggage. It's going to be more comfortable. You can put luggage on these bikes. You can put luggage on smaller bikes, but it's just going to carry better. That's a whole other caveat. Maybe that's like number 2.5. If you're looking to carry a lot of weight, a bigger bike's going to be better. Number 3, which is going to be a bit controversial. So if you haven't already, leave a comment below as to why you think I'm absolutely wrong, and you think just all your comments, right? Tell me why this is the worst video in the world, worst channel in the world, why you think I'm wrong, why big adventure bikes are stupid and you should never buy one. But for me, number 3, off-road stability. Now, what do you mean by off-road stability? I've gotten a lot of comments because people see that I have 3 bikes, right? I have the Honda 450, I've got the Norden 901, and then I've got a big Harley Davidson Road Glide. And so people always ask, like, how would the Honda be? Because people seem to love the Honda for BDR. And I see it seems to be a trend where a lot of people are pushing into this like super lightweight BDR bike. And honestly, for most people I've responded in the comments, honestly, I would want like a 1290. I would want like a 1290 Super Adventure R for like the Colorado BDR. And actually, this guy Chip that I rode with, Chip, if you're watching, shout out, because he's an amazing rider, super cool dude also. And also he's working on some cool stuff to maybe help us with the zero mile clothing line. But anyways, like Chip rides a 1290 Super Adventure, and he talks about how much he loves that bike. And that guy has done a whole bunch of BDRs, and he's actually helping to build out new BDRs, which are coming. I'm not going to tell you which ones they are because I don't want to get him in trouble, and I don't want to lose that that inside trick as to other BDRs. But when you get these, like even riding this, a good example would be riding this bike out here. So I'm currently in a BLM area that I do a lot of riding on, a lot of practicing in. And when I ride the Honda out here, coming up like this, like this 2-track road, it does get a little bit rocky. And you get bounced all, like you're just getting beat up on the Honda. Where like even on the 901, you come out and it just tractors through. It is so smooth. Like it is just so stable through that stuff. As long as you're carrying enough speed, it is just so stable and comfortable. And on top of that, like I talked about in my Colorado BDR series, section 2 of the Colorado BDR, which is the most technical section, we had 2 guys that were on BMW 1250 GSs. And if you guys are watching, shout out, because you guys did an amazing job. I dropped my bike like 4 times, and I was on a Tiger 900, and they were at the front of the pack. Like they were towards the front, no problems, cruising all of it, having a great time. And so it just goes to show you that, like, even with I think the hardest section of the BDR, those guys cruised, they had no problems. And for the rest of the sections, I'm sure they were super comfortable, right? Like all of the comfort and the stability that those bikes provide you, especially on the BMW. I actually have a chance to be able to ride a 1250 here in a couple weeks. So I'm gonna have a video finally coming out of actually spending some time on 1250. But with a lot of those bikes, the bike is so well balanced, the weight sits low, especially on the BMW, like the KTMs or the Husky, like the weight sits low, so well balanced, it's so smooth, it just creates a lot of stability. Now granted, for all you trolls out there, getting the technical stuff, it would suck. Like trying to take this bike up to this like technical section up on the Mesa, which was like a 50-inch track where you're cruising down a creek bed and then it got real rocky and tight. Like, yeah, it would suck. I still think I could probably do it on this bike. It just wouldn't be as fun as on the Honda. But like for the Colorado BDR, 85% of it is fast dirt roads and then sections of a highway, okay? So in those sections, it is going to be so much more enjoyable on a big bike, especially if you're carrying your camping gear. So back to like point 2.5, like if you're carrying a bunch of gear, having the extra power in the bike on a bike that can handle all the extra weight is just going to be so much more enjoyable. And like on my Honda, I can go like 100 miles before I got to get more gas. On these bikes, you can go a few 100 miles. So if you're doing 100 mile plus mile sections of the BDR day, of like 115, 120 miles, you don't have to worry about carrying gas on top of everything. You're going to get fine through without any problems. So as counterintuitive as it may sound, I think the weight of a bigger bike, like on the dirt roads, with all of the digital aids, like the technology aids with like the better traction control, the wind protection, all of that stuff adds up for a much more enjoyable experience when you're riding those backcountry dirt roads. Like there are sections where we're doing like 55 miles an hour during these backcountry dirt roads, and it is so fun, and you're just ripping along, like having a good time, like, and the stability of the heavier bike is just so much more fun. Like I did 110 miles around Moab on the Honda, and there's a decent section of that where we were on like dirt roads, and like the bike is just a lot twitchier, like it's not as stable at speed. There's all these things. So I think even off-road, There are some advantages to a bigger, heavier bike. That's why I think you should potentially consider actually getting a full-size ADV if you're interested in getting one. Those are my top 3 reasons why I would get another full-size ADV. I actually want a full-size ADV, if I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of torn. Like, I really would like to own a BMW GS because it is just quintessential, but I also really want to spend a lot of time on a Pan America off-road. Harley has invested a lot in BDR, and they're like, you see a lot of people now riding those bikes off-road, so it looks fun. Really interested in that. So with that, that's my top 3 reasons. Leave a comment below, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff if you can. And until next time, stay safe out there.